गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना 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 जमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शतश्री श्रीमंस डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की श्रील प्रभुपाद की all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishne Swadhamopagate Dharmajnanadivisaha Kalau nashta dasham esha Puranarko dunoditaha. Hare Krishna, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 9 and verse number 38. What I can do is, you can just switch the wire, you can give it to me, I'll shoot this thing. It's easier that way. I just want to control it. Okay. This is the verse for today. Is it good? Yachchakarthangamastotram Yachchakarthangamastotram Matkatabhyudayankitam Matkatabhyudayankitam Yadva tapasite nishtha Sa esha mad anugraha Yachchakarthangamastotram Matkatabhyudayankitam Yadva tapasite nishtha Sa esha madanugraha Yachchakarthangamastotram Matkatabhyudayankitam Yadva tapasite nishtha Sa esha madanugraha Yachchakarthangamastotram Matkatabhyudayankitam Yadva tapasite nishtha Sa esha madanugraha Yachchakarthangamastotram Matkatabhyudayankitam Yadva tapasite nishtha Sa esha madanugraha. Okay, word to word. Yat, that which, chakartha, performed, anga, O Brahma, mat stotram, prayers for me, mat katha, words regarding my activities, abhyudaya ankitam, enumerating my transcendental glories, yat, or that, va, either, tapasi, in penance, te, your, nishtha, faith, saha, that, eshaha, all these, mat, my, anugraha, causeless mercy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation: O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. Very important. Purport: when a living entity desires to serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, the Lord helps the devotee in so many ways as the Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master within. And thus the devotee can perform many wonderful activities beyond material estimation. By the mercy of the Lord, Even a layman can compose prayers of the highest spiritual perfection. Such spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. Voluntary endeavor is the only qualification for spiritual perfection. Material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lalita Shivishakhan Vitamscha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So just reading the translation. O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted, praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. Okay. So I welcome all of you to Bhagavatam class. So before I start, I seek the blessings of all ocean of devotees present here, and so that I can speak of something what is which is relevant and valuable, and what something which all of you can apply in your life. So of course, if you see the purport, what was one thing striking for me is how Prabhupada starts the purport. He says, when a living entity desires to serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, then everything continues. Then Lord helps from within. He gives his mercy, and everything follows. What are those followings? You get firm faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. Then you can do wondrous activities even beyond your own capabilities. And one more thing, what is mentioned, what Brahma is saying, is that you can praise the glories of Krishna's transcendental activities, because now you have faith. So these are some of the things, or some of the symptoms of a person who has received mercy. So if you see a devotee who is going on for decade after decade, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years in Krishna consciousness, that means you can understand he has received Krishna's mercy, Krishna's causeless mercy. Why? Because it's not an ordinary thing. Of course, today's whole world is, it goes by the face value. So people generally want to see what have you achieved as a tremendous amount of achievements, or what success you have done. Have you become very popular amongst everyone? Or have you gained enough name and fame? Have you basically gained a lot of wealth, or have you become temple president of multiple temples? So these go as in the front to consider if a person is a devotee is successful or not. Whereas Krishna is saying, if you want to understand if a devotee has got my causeless mercy, what are the three things you have to see? Yes, because he's doing it life after life, decade after decade. Right? Of course, life after life also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Then he has undertaken, he's performing austerities. His life is not in comfortable zone. There are three zones. Three zones. In the three zones, one is comfort zone, middle one is the stretch zone, and third one is the panic zone. Maybe can you just get the mic? It is somewhere there. Yeah, so that you can answer them. They can hear. And also on the bigger mixer, the fourth one you may have to increase little. The fourth knob. Fourth. Yeah. Thank you. I think yeah.
Haripo.
Yeah. So which zone should we be in amongst the three zones? Comfort zone or stretch zone or panic zone?
Stretch.
Yes, stretch zone. Why? Comfort zone you cannot do anything because you can do two things: eating and sleeping very nicely, peacefully. You can take nice prasadam and sleep nicely and skip the morning program. But if you live in a stretch zone, you're also undertaking some austerities. We don't live to eat, but we eat to live. That is the stretch zone. Whereas panic zone is you're doing beyond your capacity. It's like you have a plate of prasadam. So sometimes in a Sunday feast, we have so many items, then you have to put one over the other, or some prasadam falls out also. So it's beyond the capacity of the plate. So similarly, we cannot take so many services because of which we will, run towards the edge of a burnout or we get fried out in devotional service. So that's called a panic zone. Sometimes panic zone is required. Suppose Rath Yatra is coming, there will definitely be some panic zone there, or some mega festival is coming. So there will be some panic zone, 1 or 2 days, but not week after week. Then we gradually leave, right? So that's what Krishna is telling to Brahma here. That if we can actually live in a stretch zone, why am I saying stretch zone? Because he's appreciating Brahma. Even the penances you have taken in Krishna consciousness, that is also by my mercy. Not everyone takes austerities. So we can count what are the austerities I'm taking in my Krishna consciousness. Am I helping in the preaching mission? How many books did I distribute? Or am I helping to reach out the holy name to other people? Or even in my own, am I just eating luxuriously or am I eating what I need? So all these are multiple austerities. So there's no dearth of austerities in Krishna consciousness, right? So if someone has the willpower to perform austerities, that is also Krishna's causeless mercy, isn't it? And of course, if one is going and studying Prabhupada's books and he's going on decade after decade, generally after some time, on by the dint of some realizations in the heart, he can speak Krishna Katha. He can speak the pastimes of Krishna. Generally, we have seen initially when we try to speak, like when we are only 4 5 years or old in Krishna consciousness, it's so difficult to speak about Krishna's pastimes. We can just quote the pastime to get a lesson out of it. It's easier to speak the lessons than to actually speak and relish speaking the pastime. But the relish of speaking the pastime comes when you actually get Krishna's causeless mercy. That's what Krishna is saying here. So now when we go to the first line, when the living entity desires, that's the starting point. Then everything follows. Causeless mercy will come later. First is our endeavor. Our endeavor is what? Desire. Yes, desire to do bhakti. That is our first. And even doing bhakti is also, again, Krishna is saying it's my causeless mercy. So our endeavor is only desiring. It's so less. All we have to do is desire. Like once Srila Prabhupada was lecturing at a place, and then there was a devotee cleaning a hall or something. So Prabhupada lectured and he was moving out of the place and he stepped into the car. But this devotee, you can maybe switch off the mic. Other mic, yeah. Switch off? Can you just reduce the mic? Yeah. So when Srila Prabhupada was about to, he got down from the, got down from the building, and he stepped into the car. Then this person who was cleaning the hall, he had a burning question to ask Srila Prabhupada, but he was little shy whether should I ask or not. But then as Prabhupada closed the door of the car and as the car was about to start, this person, as Prabhupada would close the door, he kept his hand and he said, Prabhupada, I have one question to ask. So Prabhupada said, yes, please ask. Devotee's question was, okay now. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Perfect. So what is that one thing which is required in Krishna consciousness to go back home, back to Godhead? What is that one thing? Open question to all of you. One thing required to go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada answered in one. Of course, he said one word, one thing. You've heard this before. Don't give him the mic. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, desire. So desire is one thing. Prabhupada said it is only desire. So when we desire to go back home, back to Godhead, then the whole process becomes easy because Krishna is, all compassionate and he's showering his mercy. But only when we desire, we form a receptacle to receive the mercy, right? So to desire is very important in Krishna consciousness because we see even in the trinity of Paramatma, Atma or Jiva and Prakriti. So the only thing what Jivas can do is desire. Correct? We can only desire. We cannot even if I'm thinking I'm speaking the lecture, that's not true. It's arranged by the Prakriti under the direction of Paramatma, sanctioned by Paramatma. So if Jiva thinks I want to lift if I think I want to lift my right hand. So immediately if Paramatma sees, is this action according to my karma or is it sanctionable? So if it's sanctionable by karma, if it's allowed, then he allows it, he sanctions it. Then Prakriti does whatever is required so that I can lift it. But because of my karma or because of any other reason, like Krishna's causeless mercy, if he doesn't want his devotee to get in trouble, sometimes Krishna doesn't sanction our desire. So even if I have to lift, Prakriti won't provide the environment for me to lift. What does it mean? So I may have a paralysis of my right part of my body. So how much ever I may desire to lift, I cannot lift. Right? Are you able to understand this point? So this is the understanding of the triangle. So Jiva can only desire, and without the sanction of Paramatma, Prakriti won't arrange anything. So even in this world, if Prakriti is arranging everything, it's always by the sanction, by the stamp of Paramatma.
So like if we do like the bad things.
I think it's switched on or switched on.
Hello, Haribol. So if we do the bad things, is that also like permitted by Paramatma? Okay, you can do this.
Yes, everything is sanctioned. Everything is sanctioned by Paramatma. Just like one student went to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, Krishna has given this tobacco in nature so that we can smoke. Prabhupada said Krishna has also given datura, poison, which is another herb. So why don't you take poison? So Prabhupada said Krishna has given both. He has given tobacco, he has given datura, he has given good Ayurvedic herbs also. But along with that, he has also given intelligence. So our duty is to utilize our intelligence and decide what we want. Right? And then Krishna sanctions according to our, if we deserve it. It's like that. So that's why we see what we desire is very important. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, what is difference between love and lust? It says, Atmendriya Priti Icha Tare Bhali Kam Krishnendriya Priti Atmendriya Priti Vancha Tare Bhali Kam Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhare Premanam. So if you want to desire to serve Krishna, it is called love. And any desire to serve our own senses, it is called lust. A simple definition. So everything starts with desire. And how do we cultivate desires? Any idea? A very famous Bhagavad Gita verse. How do we cultivate desires? Yes, correct. Yeah, dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha. And then the whole thing goes on. So if we have certain desires, it means that we have if we have certain desires, it means that we have associated with certain sense objects before. So sometimes we see as the puberty hits, it seems so automatic or so natural that sex desire exists. Why? Because Prabhupada explains elsewhere that we have been in so many different bodies, millions of other bodies before, and we have enjoyed eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So that's why now it becomes so natural. And if you don't do these, then it seems that we are actually, crazy people. Like Prabhupada, once Brahmananda, he went to Brahmananda Prabhu, went to petrol bunk and he was filling petrol and distributing books there. So that time, the person who was filling petrol, I think those days there were some people to fill the petrol. But these people there, they were asking, what are your Hare Krishnas and everything. And generally, in those days, when they would ask questions, one of the most important questions they would ask is, do you allow sex life? As the most important question. And Brahmanand Prabhu said, yes, but some of us are celibates and we don't have to do, or even if sex life is allowed, it's only within marriage. So then Brahmanand Prabhu went and narrated the whole conversation to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, just see, these people are actually so much driven by sex life that they cannot imagine life without sex life. So unfortunate, because they've done it so many times. They've associated with a sense object, it has created a desire, intense desire. So therefore, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha, as soon as the jiva comes in this material world, initially also we come from the spiritual world to the material world because of desire. One desire. Krishna is enjoying with the gopis, and the soul thinks, why just Krishna? What about me? Immediately, next thing he sees in himself in the material world. Yeah, because that's how the desire, because of desire, we have come from there, and because of desire, we can go back to spiritual world. So, what type of desires are we cultivating really? That's the question. So in this world, we are bombarded with so many sense objects. If you're going on the road, you have billboards, you have movie posters, you have people not wearing proper clothes and walking. Now, especially summer is coming. So the tendency is, if you're rich, you wear lesser clothes. It's an ironic thing. Usually rich means you have to wear more clothes. Poor people wear less clothes. But in the US, it's opposite. If you're rich, you wear lesser clothes. Correct? So this is what is happening. So when you go, especially in the US, when you're going here and there, you're always bombarded with sense objects. And if you associate with the sense objects, association means if you become influenced by the sense object, and then you start contemplating, that is the point of fall down. So dhyayato vishayan pumsa is the point of fall down. And then what follows is a detail. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha, then sangasteshu pajayate. Then you take association, and because of association, sangat sanjayate kamaha. You get the type that's according type of desire, similar type of desires, what you associate with. Therefore, what is most important in our life is what type of association or what type of environment are we putting ourselves in. Therefore, especially for the brahmacharis, it's very it's like a mandate that we should be very careful when we go out. Like once His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, he was in Pune. So that time he wasn't wearing his glasses. So their temple president was asking him, Maharaj, what about your glasses? You're not wearing them. And they were going in this busy street where there was many Matajis and Prabhus very closely associating with one another. So Maharaj said, this is good. This is Krishna's mercy. So the temple president asked, how is this Krishna's mercy that you cannot see? So Maharaj said, actually, here, because I cannot see, I am saved from so much Maya. So he said, whenever I go out, I remove my glasses. So it's Krishna's mercy, isn't it? Because we have 5 Jnanendriya. Can you tell me what are the 5 Jnanendriyas? Jnanendriyas means knowledge acquiring senses. Senses through which you can acquire knowledge. What are they?
Eyes,
Eyes, yeah.
nose,
Nose, ears,
tongue,
skin,
skin.
and skin. Correct. These are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses. So any of these senses can actually perceive a sense object, and the mind, if it associates, can create a desire in them. The desire is created in the mind. So if you're going on the road, see, eyes automatically have the tendency to see something beautiful. So if you're not accustomed to seeing the beauty of Radha Govinda, then you will want to see the beauty of opposite sex. Is natural, right? You need the sense object for this eyes. Now Mayavadis or the Shunyavadis, they say remove the eye itself. That's not our solution. Our solution is higher taste. So similarly, if you don't have good something nice lecture, nice music, something spiritual music to hear, then automatically you want to hear Bollywood, Hollywood songs, isn't it? Or if you don't have anything, if you don't have something nice to eat, then automatically you go to restaurant to eat. So our senses need sense objects, but what type of sense objects we want to give to our senses is within our free will, that we can desire to make sure our environment is protected as much as possible, and especially for brahmacharis, and especially for brahmacharis in the US, it's very difficult. So therefore, so that is one point where we make sure our environment is protected, because our jnanendriyas are constantly trying to get knowledge from here and there, and as soon as the mind perceives, it creates that sort of desire. So that was one thing. And also I was trying to show you one thing on the screen. Let me show you. You can see this. Let me just make it bigger. Is it okay? Yeah. You can see here. This is a mechanism of reincarnation, but it's very, yeah, maybe you can show the screen. Yeah. What happens at the time of death? Can someone read? From unfulfilled desires are carried in the subtle body. In the mic.
The desires are carried in subtle body. When one man was about to die, he requested his doctor to give him a chance to live four more years so that he could complete his planned affairs. This means that while dying, he was thinking of his plans. After his body was destroyed, he doubtlessly carried his plans with him in his mind by means of the subtle body.
Yeah. So what is being said here is, like, there was one student, he was studying in India, and he was so crazy about coming to the US. So he would only hear rap music or English songs, and he would always try to change his accent into an English American accent, and he would watch only Hollywood movies. And whenever he would open his GRE or TOEFL book to study, he would only see himself flying in the aeroplane and coming to the US. He would only be dreaming. But one day it so happened that he died, so his desire was never fulfilled. So now where do you think he'll be born in the next life? In the US, is it not? Why? Because he has cultivated such desires. So automatically he will be born in the US. But in the US, will he be born as a human being or a dog or a cat? That is a question mark. Correct? So what we desire and how much we deserve, two things actually determine our next body. So at the time of death, we have the gross body, but the gross body is kept here. But along with the soul, subtle body travels. So mind is the storehouse of so many desires from millions of lifetimes. So if we keep cultivating those desires, sometimes foolishly, some people think, now let me just, my mind is troubling me, let me go to the 50th floor of a building and commit suicide. So then I'll be freed from my mind. But they do not know the mind travels with the soul. The body, the gross body stays here. But what about the mind? Mind travels along with the soul. Able to understand? So when the mind travels, it desires, everything again travels with the mind. That is called as in that's what happens in reincarnation. So one more thing you can see here, the bodies are tailor made for soul's desires. Next line is very important. Our mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity. So what it means is we all have desires, correct? So but the some even before that, our desires actually manifest when there is an opportunity, when there is a facility. Like the four kumaras when they were created by Brahma, why did Brahma create them? You know why did Brahma create the four kumaras? For procreation. He wanted to increase the population in this universe, so he created all his sons like Narada, four kumaras. So but they all became brahmacharis. They didn't want to get entangled in this material world. And what boon did the four kumaras ask for? No, to always remain young, like child. They're like, you can say, one few months old babies, or 1 year, something like that, very small. You know why they asked yeah, this boon?
Because the senses and desires won't get, affected by it.
Correct, because they don't want man's body, which actually provides a facility for sex life. You can understand. So is my question is a child, small child, does he have sex desire or not?
No.
Actually, even a child has sex desire, because the desires are stored in the mind, coming from even past life. All types of desires are there, even to the degree of that I want to be God. That desire is also there. So when the desire of for sex or for mingling with opposite sex is there, but in the child's body doesn't have enough facility to fulfill the desire. So children are, no one mistakes them. In India, we separate men and women, in the temple in front of the deities. So sometimes a small child crosses from man's side and goes to the woman's side. Will anyone mistaken? Hey, why is this small boy going to woman's side? No. So, but suppose a teenager, some 18-year-old man, he gets up from men's side and goes to woman's side. Something is odd, isn't it? So why? Because there is a facility for sex life there. So similarly, we understand even sometimes people, they become little pure, and immediately that purity is a facility to think that I am myself God. Till the time we are bogged down by lust, anger, greed, it's very difficult to think that I am God. But practice some spiritual process for some time and purify your heart, then you feel, oh, I've conquered lust, I've conquered anger, I'm no more greedy for anything. So probably I myself am God. You're able to understand? So because there is a facility, as soon as there's a facility, the internal desire, whatever desires is there in the mind, it manifests to the surface. So today, now suppose you're in, I've seen some devotees, like they are in ashram throughout, they don't much go to the streets, so they don't see Maya so much. So immediately what thought they get? Probably I'm a very pure devotee. It's called a pure PDS, pure devotee syndrome. But when they go out to the street and see the sense object, then the desire will manifest. So sometimes people say, Prabhu, I've come to US, I've become so lusty. Oh, it's not true. Lust is already there. It's just now you're getting to know you have lust. Able to understand the point? So that is the thing. So it's not that we have conquered material desires. Material desires are there, but you need a proper facility. Then you understand what type of desires we have. So therefore, uh, it's another type of sort of a mandate that one has to take spiritual process very seriously. One has to chant Hare Krishna with great attention, absorption. Only then such desires which are so deep rooted within the mind can get purified. Or else some people, they just go to Dham and they have this PDS, pure devotee syndrome. They don't want to preach. They think I'm so pure devotee, I can just stay in the Dham. Right? Some devotees are there like Paramahamsas, but we cannot imitate them. So Prabhupada wanted us to go out to the cities. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, He wanted all his mathas to be in middle of the city. Why? Because we are a preaching movement. You see all other sampradaya, they have their mathas elsewhere, in residential colonies, very like upstate New York, very far away from the actual city, isn't it? So we actually want to preach, and we want to make others devotees. We don't want to falsely think that I am a pure devotee. So our hope is where? Our hope is in attaining the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And how can we attain that? When we help, not help, we cannot help Prabhupada, we can assist. We can assist Prabhupada in expanding his mission. If we just put some endeavors in trying to reach out, trying to cultivate some people, to give them Krishna consciousness, help them grow in Krishna's consciousness, then we are automatically attracting the causeless mercy of Prabhupada and his disciples, all the devotees. So that's what here is meant. Our mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there's an opportunity. Hmm. So even if we have a certain type of body now, I have certain type of body, that actually shows what type of desires I have in my heart. If someone has a dog's body, you can understand what type of desire the dog had, or the soul in the dog's body had, right? If someone has pig's body, someone has polar bear's body, all you can make out. Bhagavatam, there is a verse, probably in 11th canto, I think. It says, just by understanding, looking at the body, our current tendencies in the body, you can make out what was he in the previous life, and how we act today, or what type of life we are leading now. We can make out what body we'll get next life. You can make out. You don't need astrology. It's like common sense, because it is science. You can easily make out. Therefore, maybe, yeah, before I go further, you can see here there's some examples like Nalaku, Manigriv. They were cursed to become trees. Why were they cursed to become trees? Yeah, in the mic.
They were indulging in sinful activities. And,
yeah, but why trees? Like, why only tree? Why not insect?
Because the Ananta, there was this great sage.
Yeah, Narada.
Narada Muni. He cursed them so Krishna could.
Okay, but he could have cursed them as insects in the Krishna's courtyard.
I don't know. Krishna.
Okay. Oh, they were naked, but animals also naked. In one university, one person asked me the same question. I mean, animals are naked, so why not pig or dog?
Because trees are of like showful.
They're what?
Showy, like.
Showy. Okay. I mean, they can be certain animals. Like gorilla also, I think, is showy. So actually, Narada Muni cursed them to be trees, because very lusty people can create trouble for other living entities. So if they're stationed in one place, like trees, they don't go and harm others. Like that. Or a lusty dog can even harm other living entities, isn't it? So yeah, so that's why they were cursed to become trees. So again, you can see based on their desire, they get the next body. Okay, so then we'll go. So, but we see in this verse, Sri Prabhupada is writing that by the mercy of the Lord, this is also by the mercy of the Lord, even a layman can compose prayers of the highest spiritual perfection. And we have several examples like Gajendra. Gajendra was an elephant, but what sort of prayers? In India, everyone recites Gajendra Stuti. In the early morning when they get up, used many places, they just recite Gajendra Stuti, the prayers offered by an elephant. So that is one. And of course, Bhagavatam is filled with such examples. Vritrasura prayers. He was a demon. He was not even a human body. So he was a demon. So that is one thing. And you can see. Here Prabhupada is writing, such spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by the dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. So let me just show you a verse for this. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, 799. Can you repeat after me? Manye dhanabhijana rupa tapashruta तेज प्रभाव बल पौरुष बुद्धि योगा नाराधनाय हि भवन्ति परस्य पुंसो भक्त्या ततोष भगवन् गजयूतपाय. Yeah, can someone read the translation in the mic?
Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth and
Aristocratic.
aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all this qualification, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him.
Yes. So if you go to the today's verse, what Prabhupada is saying, such spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications. So you don't have to be a great tapasvi, nor do you have to be a great scholar of the Vedic scriptures, nor do you have to be a big book distributor, nor do you have to be a big, powerful kirtanier. None of these are qualifications to attain Krishna's causeless mercy. What is one qualification? Service attitude, okay. But before that, desire. Desire to, that is the qualification. If you just desire to serve Krishna, just the sincerity of that desire actually attracts Krishna's causeless mercy. So here Prabhupada is saying, but is developed by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. That's all that is required. And no material, here Prabhupada says again, material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. So many times even great devotees in different stutis, they have said how simply by cultivating other desires other than the desire to serve Krishna has only tormented their lives. So it is just like a boss. You go to boss, you go get into a company to get good salary, to have a good career. But when you go there, you see that the same desire which you had to get a good career, but when you get into the company, you're actually not so happy because the boss is troubling you, the peers are envious of you, so many problems, right? So similarly, the living entity, when he comes to this world, he thinks that probably if I cultivate this desire of towards lust, desires based on lust, anger, and greed, then probably I can become happy. But it's not true. Lifetime after lifetime, we all have been trying to fulfill these desires. But the very fact that we are still looking for happiness shows that we haven't achieved that fulfillment of heart. So then we have to now start looking. That's why that's why the junction of human life comes. You can see here. So in human life, human form of life, you can actually decide. Now let me start thinking. That's why even in Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism, what is the first aphorism? Atato Brahma Jignasa. So you went through the whole material world trying to fulfill your desires or to become happy, and then you went to other systems of philosophy like atomic theory or of Kanad or something like that. Many other theories, and finally you come to Vedanta, the end of knowledge, that is devotional service. And then finally you want to look into Vedanta Sutra, and that's why the first aphorism is, now you have wandered everywhere else throughout the universe. Now finally you ask the right question about Brahman. Make some inquiries. Atato Brahma Jignasa. And that's the starting point from where we can actually proceed in our devotional service. So maybe I'll just end with this. Actually, Ananda Prabhu says that actually we need to cultivate our desire to serve and please Krishna so big in our hearts that there is no room for any other desire. So we do chant Hare Krishna, we do everything. Of course, there is purification on one hand, but more important is Artha Pravritti, which means we want to cultivate a desire to serve Krishna and his devotees. So if we have the desire so big, other desires will not have any space in the mind, heart. So automatically they're kicked out. And that's how it works. So every endeavor, if you're chanting in the morning, if you're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, if you're associating with devotees, even if you're taking prasadam, what is the goal of all these activities? Yes, Krishna Prema, but to cultivate the desire to serve Krishna. That should be the sole and intention. So if you open Srimad Bhagavatam, and if you want to get a good reading done, then you have to open the Srimad Bhagavatam and understand. All I want to do is, yes, serve Krishna, develop my desire to serve Krishna. It has to become big. And you open Srimad Bhagavatam or any Prabhupada's books with that intention, automatically you can read for 2 hours, 3 hours straight. It's very easy because your goal is clear, what you want to do, what you want to get from the reading. So maybe I'll end here. If there are any questions, we can take or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice lecture. I just have one question about this Chaitya Guru. So how can then Krishna guide us?
How can Krishna guide us? Very good question. Actually, Chaitya Guru or Paramatma, who is within the heart, he is called as Chaitya Guru. And Paramatma extends himself externally as our spiritual master. So the same spiritual master instructs us. But just like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he instructed Srila Prabhupada that two instructions he gave. That if you get money, print books and go to the Western world and preach in the English language. 2 instructions. And Prabhupada did big things in both of them. One, he opened ISKCON to fulfill one desire, and to fulfill the other desire, he opened BBT. And these are the 2 main things Prabhupada did. But how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur never told Srila Prabhupada, go to Calcutta, get on the Jaladuta. He never gave the details. So where did he get the details from? How to do it? That is the instructions coming from the Chaitya Guru. Yeah, means the Paramatma in the heart. So I mean, even spiritual master or Chaitya Guru, they are like one and the same. Chaitya Guru manifests as a spiritual master in front of us, externally. Okay, so as Prabhupada is the Acharya, he's also my grandfather spiritual master, but I don't have initiation spiritual master. So can Krishna anyway talk to me through the heart? Yes, see, it's all about the desire. If you have a strong desire to serve Krishna, then Krishna will send us a spiritual master. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, he went to attain Lord Vishnu, and he went with such spirit that I will attain Lord Vishnu at any cost. Then whom did Lord Vishnu send? Narada Muni. In the middle of a forest, how can you meet a saintly person just out of nowhere? It's not coincidence. It was sent purposely by Lord Vishnu because Dhruva was very sincere and his desire was very strong. So even in spiritual, in our spiritual lives, if we want to do big things of Sri Prabhupada, what is important? Having a very strong desire. Why is this ISKCON still existing and going on decade after decade? Because of strong desire of Sri Prabhupada, strong desire of our acharyas. That's what is going on. Like our Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, it's already predicted. Right? In the scripture, I think Nityananda was showing Jeev Goswami or something like that, if I'm not wrong. So now there is a strong desire coming in the parampara and is manifesting now. You see? So finally, Krishna has to sanction and Krishna will arrange everything. Like Krishna arranged the battle of on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to be won by the Pandavas. It was already decided. Dharma will always win. But we can be the instruments by our strong desire. I want to please Krishna, and we can just put our endeavor. That's our part. And what comes or when the result will come, that's all Krishna's part. We don't care. So if our desire is strong, now I want to expand mission of Srila Prabhupada. Now in America it is a little weak, so I want to go, and every nook of corner there has to be very strong brahmacharis. There has to be strong practitioners of Krishna consciousness. There have to be regular sankirtan going out from every temple for 4 hours, not just New York City. So if you have strong desire to serve, then automatically those desires will be sanctioned by Paramatma, and everything will be arranged by Paramatma through material nature. Everything will be arranged easily. Because if suppose you want to convince someone of Krishna conscious philosophy, there's Paramatma in your heart and Paramatma in other person's heart. So if you have a strong desire, stronger than his desire of not taking the book, your desire is to give the book and his desire is not to take the book. But if your desire is stronger, then Paramatma sanctions. So even if he doesn't want the book, somehow he can get influenced to take the book. That's what I heard. Once there was in New Vrindavan in those days, there was this temple commander or something, and he was a brahmachari. And then someone told him, actually from the brahmachari ashram, there is this particular brahmachari, she's performing austerities to attain you as the husband. So then someone told him, so if your desire to stay a brahmachari is bigger than her desire to attain you as her husband, then you will remain a brahmachari. But if her austerities and desires are stronger to attain you as husband than your desire to stay as a brahmachari, then you will get married. And finally he got married. That's the thing. So it's Paramatma is there. Paramatma is the commonality in all of us. He knows your heart, he knows my heart. So if for a pure devotee, Paramatma can even tell me what is in your mind. That's why no one can cheat the spiritual master of pure devotees. Paramatma will reveal everything. That makes sense? Does that make sense?
So just surrender unto the Paramatma.
Yeah, surrender to Krishna and his pure devotees. Surrender to the will of Krishna also.
Will of Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Prema.